Hi Lindsay, this is Britt Dahlbeck and I'm going to be replying to your video blog on ethical violations and decisions in the state of Virginia. So I think you did a really great job. I liked listening to everything you had to say, Lindsay, about what was going on in Virginia, and I think you did a really good job of talking about the minor and the bigger infractions. I found it really interesting how passionate you were that there were some decisions that you didn't agree with, and I was really interested in those cases. And I have to tell you, as I looked at the cases as well, I agree with you. There was a case that I could not believe that they had done a mandatory suspension and not done a mandatory revoking of a license. And that would have been the case that was this year in September of 2020 with the counselor who was actually convicted of 2 felonies, and the felonies were proposed sex acts by communication systems with a minor under 15. And those were clearly huge violations. And when I started to look at that, I went back actually into the criminal record and found that the person was actually sentenced to 10 years in prison, and that they will be required to register as a sex offender. They will have no unsupervised contact with minors. They will complete a psychosexual evaluation and comply with any of the results and treatment, and no social media accounts. So that was the ramifications of the legal part of that. And I thought that was really interesting because that was included with the decision of the board of what happened with the Virginia State Board. So they had that information. And so my question, I guess, is what would constitute a mandatory revoking of license if this case does not apply? Because this case just seems so egregious. So I really appreciated the time that you took to kind of look at all of the angles on that case and went over the Virginia state codes that were violated as well as the ACA codes that were violated. And then as I started to think more about this case, I thought that another code that could have been violated on this was the Virginia State Code 18 VA C15-20-140, which talks about all of the things, the grounds for revoking or suspending a license. And the number one thing, of course, is a conviction of a felony. But the number 3 is actually impairment. And when I started to think about this, I thought this is really a case of impairment as well, because this counselor would have been impaired while this was going on if they were seeing other clients. So this is just one of those cases that the ACA code of 2014, the impairment code of C2G would also imply that, you know, if you have any mental instability, that is an impairment and you should not be seeing clients. So there were so many parts of this, and I just really appreciated looking at it and hearing your take on everything as well. Thanks so much. Have a good week.